Welcome and hello everyone. My name is Locke and I'm here for a special episode of Nightdive Studios Deep Dive. We're talking the new release of Heretic plus Hexen, and with me today is the multiplayer man himself, Edward. Edward, hello.
Hello.
I am excited to have you back. Thank you again for allowing me to pick your brain on another project. It's about
I just have to set an alarm for 8 a.m. and I'm here.
I know. Getting the developers up at an early hour is rough, but I do appreciate your time and your thoughts. It's been a minute since we spoke, and what did we talk about last time? Was it Rise of the Triad or Doom? Were we talking about Doom?
I feel like it was Doom, but I can't remember.
I think it was Doom. I think you were doing Doom stuff. Anyways, we're talking about Wizards now, and Heretic and Hexen. This is very exciting. Can you give me a little bit of background on this project and what you're doing with it?
So Heretic and Hexen sort of started as like a meme. Internally within Nightdive for like 8 years, I would be telling Larry Cooperman, Hexen win, Heretic win, just over and over, because it was sort of like the one game that I really wanted to do when we started this project. Well, when I started at Nightdive, when we started, going for all our projects, and it's now finally happened, and
now we're here.
Yeah. A lot of useful things came out of the Activision merger.
Yeah, no kidding. So previous to this, what were you working on? Did you jump from Doom 1-2? Were you on something else?
I was working on Doom 1+2. That was all of the multiplayer stuff on that behind the scenes,
which was amazing, by the way.
And everything else I've been working on. The System Shock 2.
Oh, System Shock, that's
edition.
Right. Yes,
yeah.
I did the multiplayer trailer for that, and it's just like loving it, dude.
Yeah, I was working behind the scenes with Muteki on that one, getting our tech up to speed, because that was like trying to recreate direct play.
That's crazy.
In this very strange and cursed way.
Well, I remember playing with Daniel, and he's like, do not drop any items on the floor. And I think that was like 2 months ago. And I was just like, why? He's like, because everything will break. So I'm hoping that got solved
as to what everyone owns.
Exactly. Okay, so we go Doom 1-2 into System Shock Anniversary Remaster, and now we're at Heretic Hexen.
Everything I'm allowed to talk about at the moment.
Fair, yeah. That's fair. Okay. So yeah, tell me a little bit about what have you guys done to this game? What are you doing? What can people expect?
So one of the fascinating things going forward, starting from the beginning, we had a thing where so Doom plus Doom 2, we started from a code base that Nerve Software had, where they'd already designed everything. Like we just basically plonked that into Kex, start updating things. That worked. Heretic and Hexen had nothing like that. We had the old source code release that Activision did, and that was the start of everything. And so we're sort of sitting there going, okay, well, how do we do this? And what we basically did was start morphing Doom into Heretic and Hexen. We started taking that code and chucking that into the Doom code. So we started from Doom plus Doom 2 as the base, which it sort of half makes sense, because that is actually how Heretic and Hexen originally worked anyway. They were built from like Doom 1.2.
Right.
And so a lot of that was like, okay, well, we just start porting over its changes, and that it was a decent process. It was a bit all over the place for a while, but it worked. And then it was a case of like, well, the maps are kind of looking a bit empty. They don't have a lot of textures. So we're like, well, what if we sort of up-resed the
Mhm.
maps, go through, give them a fresh coat of paint, things like that. Um, uh, we have a couple of new campaigns, and that has a bunch of like added
Yep.
enemy content, things like that. I think there's a s- I think we added a weapon to
I think it's the
Heretic.
chain lightning wand.
Yeah.
I forget what Tempest wand maybe.
Oh yeah, the Tempest one. The and then a lot of that was like Caesar going through adding
Mhm.
an entirely new actor definition system, and then me discovering, oh, that broke the netcode, and
Yeah, so like we have all these changes, we have all these fixes, as you say, and new content updates. What does that do to your job? Can you paint me a little picture on how your collaborative process with the rest of the team? Because I know you're multiplayer focused. You have to worry about a whole different bunch of variables than everyone else.
yeah. So the multiplayer from the get go, you'd think, okay, well, we have Doom plus Doom 2. We're starting from that, so everything should just work. No, surprisingly, when you start implementing things like the Hexen classes, all of the optimizations that I did for Doom is like, well, okay, in Doom, the player actor is always one object.
Right.
That they're never something else, and that completely loses the plot. And actually, even in Heretic, because you can turn into a chicken,
Right.
uh, and there is no concept for that. And it just completely breaks the optimization. So I'm having to rewrite all that so that when you become a chicken, everything just doesn't crash.
Right. Well, I was just thinking about like the classes. The classes to me seem really challenging because you have to account that anyone can be any class at almost any time.
Yeah. And even more so because we added the ability to
Just
change your
change,
class
yeah,
mid
that's one of the
game.
features.
Yeah. I mean that used to be like a cheat code,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, well, what if that was like an actual thing? So like, instead of it being, oh, because in Hexen you only have the four weapons
Hmm.
if you pick a particular class. And it's like,
Hmm.
okay, it's a little anemic,
Yep.
but there's not a lot more you can do with that one because they already cover like the range of mana items that you have, and unless you go really overboard, adding a new class of mana or something like that, which
Right.
would have been nuts. It's like, well, what if you just like there was a thing in game where you could just change your class? And I was always making jokes about like what is it, the Dark Souls bonfire thing.
Hmm.
Um that it was like a recurring thing. It's like, oh, what if we had it so like a player could invade you? Sadly, I couldn't do that. But
Not yet. There'll be a mod for that.
maybe one day, maybe when someone gives me enough time to R&D that.
Right. Right. Yeah, no, it just sounds like
Um,
your job is really hard when you have all these ideas coming to fruition, and then you're just like, guys, like how do you rein it in? Like how does that
there was
work?
there was someone on the team who made a couple of levels so huge that the netcode started to fall apart because they didn't realize, oh, there is a maximum number of things they're allowed to move on screen at once.
Hmm.
And and so I was like, you have to scale this back, and
Yeah.
we're adding all sorts of optimizations. So like, if you're in a particular area, it doesn't try and transmit everything else.
Right.
So there's a whole bunch of new line properties to block network visibility.
Right.
Uh, um that stuff that's appearing in like a couple of months from when we had to submit.
Right. 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 Wait
They
for the patch.
Yeah, I was doing a last minute optimization. Hexen has this object where it's a bridge. It's a bridge thing. You stand on it, you walk on it, things like that, and it has these glittering orbs that rotate around it. And on the netcode, it was like, oh, I'll synchronize the position of these orbs all the time because they're always moving, and it was adding so much noise. I'm like, okay, That's it. I'm just turning these things into client-side objects, which is something I didn't have in Doom either because there was no need for that. And that was a bit of a scary change because of how the client treats objects
Yeah,
being synced from the network. It takes a whole different code path. It doesn't
right.
sync them. It does something else with them.
Can
Um,
for those folks at home that don't understand, can you explain what client side means?
Okay, so when someone creates a lobby,
Mhm.
they're the host, and when they run the game, so it's like um, the everything they see is the true game.
Right.
Um, when somebody joins that, they're the client, and what they receive and what they see is sort of like it's the server is sending them things saying this object is standing here, and the client just goes, oh, okay, I'll render this object here, and that's all it does with it.
Gotcha.
So a client-side object is basically that object that the client itself spawns, it puts it there, and the server isn't saying anything about it at all.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. I appreciate that because as we get into these technical details, I want to make sure that there are people watching that do know what you're talking about, but I also want to give an opportunity to explain those things to someone like me that has no developer background, and I need to figure out
Oh
what
yeah.
client side means. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I mean,
Um,
if you're familiar with what is it, Quake 2?
mhm.
A lot of this netcode is actually inspired by Quake 2.
Yeah.
Um,
How so? Tell me about that. Why?
well, so Doom plus Doom 2 was the game that we did after Quake 2, I believe,
Thank.
for id Software.
Mhm.
And so we're coming off of that, and we're taking a look at Doom plus Doom 2's multiplayer, which I think was something that we're always sort of like I'd talk to Kevin Cloud every once in a while, and we're always sort of contemplating, redoing that project with multiplayer.
Mhm.
I don't know if he had any involvement in getting that off the ground. He retired before we started work,
Right.
so but it was always something we were talking about with him. And one of the things that came up was like a lot of Doom's old stuff was it was old. It was designed for people connecting their computers over a serial cable.
Yep.
Um, so when I was looking at it, I was like, well, you still have all this old code. What is the best way to, modernize it? And because I just finished Quake 2, I was thinking, well, why didn't I just do that? Because it's the thing I'm most familiar with right now. So that's the system that allowed me to get like in-game joining up and running fairly quickly, things like that. And it was all designed around the idea that uh, in Quake 2, the server is this invisible entity thing in the background
Mhm.
that's sending out frames, and the clients that join them would receive like snapshots of the worlds that is just the visual data and nothing else.
Yeah. Amazing.
And then it would like the client would like interpolate between the positions, things like that. It seemed like the most efficient way to do it. It was the closest to Doom's engine. Not quite the same. There's a few different concepts, but it was fairly close, and so it was the most reusable concept.
Awesome.
And bringing that into like Heretic and Hexen, because where we're using all of that, we have the split screen as well. The split screen actually uses this code. It's kind of weird. Like, if you have like 4 players on screen or 8 players if you're on Xbox, um, like the player in the top left corner, that's the real player, that's the real session, that's the server, and
Right.
all the other screens are actually just clients.
Oh, interesting. That's very cool. I didn't even know there's split screen. That's amazing.
Wait. A lot of people don't seem to know that we had split screen in Doom plus Doom 2. I've seen people online um, go, oh, where's split screen? I was told this has split screen. And they look at the multiplayer menu and then they say, I guess there's no split screen. It's like, just open the multiplayer menu.
I'm gonna back it up a little bit with Heretic. Was multiplayer in the original game?
Yes. Heretic had 4-player multiplayer. That had co-op and deathmatch. It
Yeah.
was Heretic into behind the scenes is basically just Doom with
Okay.
an inventory bar.
Gotcha.
So much so that there is, I think there's like a mod or something that somebody designed so that you can just basically load Heretic and Doom maps in either game.
Oh, sick. That's pretty cool. And for this Heretic and Hexen release, does Heretic have 4-player co-op or 8-player?
It has 16-player co-op.
What? You just multiplied it by 2?
Well, I multiply it by 4 because
Or
it's 4 to
yeah,
16.
yeah. No, I know, but you said you can get 8 players on an Xbox, but there's actually you can get 16 people in there. That's crazy.
Oh, it's 8 players in split screen.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's 16 like over a network.
Gotcha.
And so what we did there was so in Doom plus Doom 2, I added a thing where like players can just dynamically spawn if there's
Mhm.
not enough room.
Mhm.
And so I was like, well, we've got the code. I might as well just reuse it for Heretic and Hexen. And so I think there was always talk about like limiting it to 8 players, and then it just never happened. So it's still 16.
That sounds chaotic.
Oh, it is absolutely. One of the things that we changed is players no longer collide with each other.
Okay, fair. Nice.
Because otherwise you'd frequently be telefragging each other every once in a while. A corridor would get a bit crowded, things like that.
Right.
For Hexen, this became so much more complicated because we kept 16-player co-op for that as well.
Mhm.
We really shouldn't have. One of the first things we found was so Hexen is made of hubs,
Yeah.
whereas like each level is an individual segment of this greater hub, and so you'd be moving between levels. Your start position in each level isn't always the same place.
Right.
Because sometimes you go through a different doorway, a different
Yeah.
entrance, and so it's a different position when you move to the other area. Um, and it's always saving the state of the game behind the scenes to move between these levels, so you can go back and forth. And in co-op, this is madness
Yeah.
because players can drop in and out at any time. So you'd move to another level, a player has either left the game or they've joined the game. The save data says something completely different about this player slot.
Right.
Which was a cause of frequent crashes during
I can
development.
I can only imagine.
It would frequently lose the plot as to like who's in what slot. It's almost a game of who's on first.
Right.
They um and getting the players actually spawned into the correct position. Hexen, the original Hexen, had 8-player multiplayer. It
Mhm.
bumped it up to 8. And seemingly it was untested because we found cases where like player starts were just missing for specific players.
Right.
And that end up spawning in like a completely like random location in the map or the void in some cases. And so running that through our code, it's like, why is this player just spawning in this river hole somewhere?
It's just gathering
And
random data and telling it to put it there.
Yeah, basically. It'd be a position from a previous map, essentially. And so what I had to do was add a whole bunch of more code to go like, if someone makes a mapping error like this, just
Mhm.
ignore it and dynamically spawn the player
Right.
near
Right.
the others.
So your dynamic spawn system accounts for that, says, hey, hold up. You go in one of these dynamic spots, problem solved.
There's like this whole routine. So like if it needs to find a spot for a player and there
Mhm.
isn't a start for them, it it finds just a random coordinate around another player.
Oh, cool.
So a mapper doesn't even need to take it into account. It's just nearby another player.
Yeah, that's an interesting problem with Hexen, just because of that hub and spoke model where you're going in and out of maps all the time and just being like you're revisiting stuff all the time. And
Yeah.
that's a really interesting way to solve that, being like, okay, we're here, we entered in through this way, you guys spawn in and around this part.
And just,
I know I'm
hopefully just
dumbing it
start from
down. I
there,
know
or
I'm dumbing it down, but
yeah.
again, it's for I need it explained in kitty terms. So that's awesome, man. That sounds crazy. Is there anything? I mean, everything sounds like a technical challenge, but was there any particular roadblocks that stood out for you, or something that you were excited about solving, or that was tricky to solve?
Well, we did notice when starting to transplant, like I believe the Hexen code mainly
Hmm.
into our code. So, like, I think I briefly mentioned it before. The way split screen actually works is that it's starting multiple instances of the engine
Right,
behind the scenes.
right,
And a lot of that Hexen code obviously wasn't designed for any of that, because that was a concept that was created for the Doom port for the original Xbox.
right,
Um, so we're finding a lot of cases like, oh, this string is just globally allocated into memory. And would have to hunt down all of those systems and go, all right, need to move it into the split screen code. Um,
and
I think
that
beyond
sounds
that,
slow.
yes, it was basically trial and error as to
Okay,
figuring out, what was causing conflicts with that.
fair.
Um, things like optimizing the netcode for just how much more stuff there was going
Yeah,
on in Hexen, especially. Um, fixing all the optimizations and assumptions that I made for the class system,
right.
the way weapons are allocated. Um, and just all the effects work, I think. The things like, what is it? There's like a quake function, like the screen shakes. That's sitting around in Hexen, and it's like, okay, how does that sync? As it turns out, I just need to synchronize one variable over the network, and the whole thing just works,
Right.
which was surprising. The random discoveries like that is really fascinating. It's like, oh, this thing can be really simple, or it can just be the most complex thing in existence.
Right. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, and chatting with some of the other team members, it's just like such a collaborative effort for a project like this to not only get the original games up to snuff, but then to add on this content and optimize that, not only for single player but for multiplayer. Yeah, it's just like
Oh
seems
yeah,
seems like a
like
momentous, like this crazy crazy amount of work that you guys put into this. So I'm very excited
it was
about it.
basically cause of celebration when, like, especially with like the new map packs,
Hmm.
completing those in co-op, like getting through the final boss, finishing the final boss, and going, hey, the end screen works
Yeah,
finally.
nice. Are you guys how often are you guys just hopping in there and testing? Is it all the time, or do you guys have like a scheduled time every week to do that?
I mean, depending on, like, I don't know if I can date the stream.
Right.
Uh but like, we've been we'd have like a weekly test session, like
Yeah.
scheduled as like people turn up for this, and we'll have,
Gotcha.
on
Gotcha.
average it'll be like 8 people from around Nightdive just joining up and going through co-op or deathmatch or whatever, for just finding weird deathmatch things with the Hexen class mechanics, stuff like that.
Still sadly haven't been invited to one of those. Just letting you know.
I mean, that's an open session. You can just join.
I am just being funny. I those often are very useful for my trailer purposes. So that's selfishly I when I'm cutting trailers for multiplayer stuff, I the more the better for me. So um Cool, man. Well, let's keep moving here. Was there anything you wanted to shout out or call out about your work on this project? Something you're very proud of?
I mean, the split screen as per usual.
Mm.
I never get tired of saying, "Hey, we have 8-player split screen." We've
I'm
been doing that
definitely
since
gonna check
Quake
that out.
2.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out. Just because
It's
it's a lost art, that split screen.
yeah, it's one of those funny things. It's like I randomly did it at one point, and what was it, John Linneman at Digital Foundry? It's like I can't find enough controllers to test this.
He's like, I don't even own that many controllers. Going through this, I just want a couple favorite things out of you. What's your favorite weapon in each of the games?
There's this new secret weapon, the Tempest Wand,
Hmm.
which just it, uh, it hits something like an enemy, and then it just bounces and hits another enemy, and just keeps chaining along.
Chain lightning, yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's great. That's buried in Heretic somewhere. In Hexen, I think. Oh, I forget which class it is. It's either the cleric or the mage. It's ultimate like assembled weapon. Um, spawns a whole bunch of ghosts,
Oh, cool.
and that is a heck of a lot of fun in deathmatch.
Nice.
You,
Yeah,
you spam that around, and it just becomes a room just becomes chaos.
I I heard on the grapevine you were giving suggestions about balancing the frost. Is it frost shards for the mage?
Oh yeah, it does it in the original Hexen, it did a particular thing where you would um fire all the shards, it would freeze an enemy,
Hmm.
and then once it hit that frozen enemy, nothing would happen. So
Right.
if you had like a group of enemies, it would become really tedious to use.
Hmm.
And so we changed it so that if the frost shards just go through frozen enemies.
Yeah.
So you can keep hitting like you can. It's much more effective against groups. There's all sorts of little gameplay changes sitting around in Heretic and Hexen. We're a bit more uh, open to like modifying that
Hmm.
game
Hmm.
than Doom. So uh, there's a whole bunch of like quality of life gameplay improvements in that. And you can turn them off and on as well, including all the map changes, stuff like that. So um, I don't know if you found the original game tedious, you might find the changes to be quite a bit more appealing.
Yeah, it sounds like the quality of life changes just makes sense, and the balancing stuff, and the tweaking of the weapons and monsters just make it a better experience overall, to especially to new players, someone who hasn't had that friction of the original games too. So
Yeah, what was it? The cleric.
he's
I
got a
was just
shield
in a
now. He
channel.
starts with a shield now.
Yeah, I was like in a channel at one point, and Caesar was like, "Oh, I added a blocking mechanic
Sounds amazing.
into." It's like that's a whole extra button. How did what?
Yeah, that sounds. I love that. Like, that's amazing. So I'm very excited. Again, I'm approaching these games from. I haven't played them since release, and so I am just like very stoked to get in on these and check this out and play these with other people, because I've never played these in multiplayer. I'm very stoked to see what they're like and experience it with some friends. So I really appreciate you putting in the work. Do you have a favorite map?
I think I forget. I think it's the Hexen one, Vestiges.
Hmm.
There is Volcano Chapel,
Okay.
uh, which is like this big open volcano map, chapel in the center, and it's just this big platforming thing with like at least 2 boss fights
Very cool.
sitting in it.
Yeah. I chatted with Matt about Vestiges sounds like the ultimate hub experience, the way Hexen was meant to be played. So
Yeah.
and for people, either coming to this game who haven't played before or people revisiting this game, what would you tell them? What are you most excited to show them? Obviously the multiplayer.
Just everything,
yes.
honestly. Like the multiplayer in general, it's going to be interesting to see. Like, the Heretic and Hexen have never had a big multiplayer scene, even with like the Doom ports that happen to have like support for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been a bit
It's kind of like the younger brother, like Doom has always been in the spotlight, and then we've had these. It hasn't got as much love or attention.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. It's like, okay, actual dedicated port, dedicated multiplayer. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. But I think Heretic Deathmatch especially is going to be interesting to see how the meta pans out for that one. What is it? Behind the scenes, I was implementing like a new compression model into Kex specifically for Heretic plus Hexen, where it's using Z standard and it's like this rolling compression system. So like, in Doom plus Doom 2, when it would compress a packet, it would just be zlib and it'd just be basic, like, compress this packet, and it'll have like, the Huffman table at the start and stuff like that. And it worked okay. And I was like, well, what if we didn't have the Huffman table at the start? What if that was just like separate data? So you can get a lot more room out of a packet. So behind the scenes, it's just constantly building this table and transmitting it over. And during the course of the project, it was like me trying to work out optimizations for that. Just at the absolute last minute, I rewrote entirely how all of that was transmitted.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
I had to. There was this bug on one of the platforms where after like a few seconds, it would then try to transmit this table, and all of a sudden the whole game would just stop and disconnect.
Oh, weird.
It was like, okay, all right. Transmit all of it at 16 kilobytes a second.
And did you get it to a place where you're happy and got it working?
I believe so. Like
developers never happy.
What is it? Mike Ruberts was like, he set up a couple of platforms that were just sitting there for hours transmitting that data, and it seemed to work. So I think I finally solved all of it just at the very last second.
Amazing, dude. That's amazing. Well done. And everyone out there playing multiplayer appreciates you for that. Okay, well, Edward, I really appreciate you taking the time to walk us through your experience with working on Heretic plus Hexen. It's available now for people to play. Grab it, buy your friend a copy, buy 15 friends a copy and play 16-player multiplayer, because that's insane. So yeah, thank you again for your continued work on these remasters, and I'm very excited for people to get their hands on this, and yeah, just walking us through, what went into this. So thanks again.
Thank you.